coordinator of the Light Bearers Association. Please welcome Frate Dr. Abimbola Oyodokun. And lastly would be yet another young Rosicrucian, a former zonal chairperson of the Light Bearers Association, Frate Nnamdi Nwachukwu. Thank you very much, Fratres and Soro, for being part of this symposium. The theme for this convention is service, and the slogan is self-mastery for service. Similarly, the theme for this
Thank you very much, Ejo. Very good to be here with everyone here and to be back in Abuja for the convention once more. Rosicrucian service, to me, is the sum total of everything that Rosicrucians do individually and collectively to improve the state of mankind. And in our literature and that of other mystical organizations, you will find references to the great work. And this is, I mean, when you hear something called the great work, it's a huge undertaking. It's gargantuan, and it requires a lot of preparation. And so you find that the Rosicrucian must prepare himself or herself on all the dimensions of being. So physical preparation, we have access to information and we learn techniques that help to engender good health and physical well-being in ourselves. And we also have the ability to use those techniques for people who may need them other than ourselves, so physical. And then emotionally, we realize that we should not be the slaves of our passions. We should master our emotions. And so we learn techniques that help us to control our emotions, including the glands that affect our emotions. So we're prepared emotionally. And then mentally, reasoning is the basis of everything we do. And so we learn the proper way to reason in order to avoid errors and to reach beneficial conclusions. And you also find techniques that help to improve our mental acuity and of course facilitate our intuition. So you find out that we're also prepared mentally. And all these three stages now prepare us for a higher level of service, which is spiritual, where we become channels for divine energies to come to humanity, to earth, to be able to improve the state of mankind. So the Rosicrucian is prepared on all these levels in order to be able to give service. The Yorubas have a saying that "Eni to ba ma daṣọ fúnni, tọrùn ẹ̀ là kọ́kọ́ wò," meaning that if somebody is going to make clothes for you or give you clothes, you will first look at how that person is dressed. So you yourself must first be prepared in order to give service that can move humanity forward.
This constitutes the great work.
Yes, it does.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Weaver. Let's hear from the you heard what people say. A great part of Rosicrucian service, which prepares properly all the channels, effective channels for most people.
Thank you very much, Ijo. Firstly, I'm honored to be here. Okay, you will all recall that a lot has happened in the years gone by, and last year in particular, from the effects of lockdown on the economic viability of most countries, to political unrest and upheavals of many countries, including Nigeria. Let's also talk about worsening relationships between humans and their nations, or nations. So part of the great work of the Order as an international, fraternal, and mystical organization is to build bridges of cooperation and bonds of goodwill amongst people of the world. The work of the Order serves to remind us of our common heritage as one body of humanity, so that we may, regardless of our nationalities, our races, and even religious inclinations, come together to collectively address the various challenges facing humanity. And that also threatens our existence here on Earth. So the part of the key work of the Order is to heal the collective psyche, that is the body, the mind, the spirit of humanity, in order to facilitate harmonious relationships amongst nations and humans.
Let's come back on to that. And by the time you so you say that each institution need to remind us of the part of our to use your word to build bridges of cooperation and foster the bonds of goodwill. This is especially important. I don't want to inside this. So our members need to understand that here are our institutions have a mission to foster the bonds of cooperation. Global, because like I say, humanity is one, and our work to build for humanity.
And then, before you ask someone else, the word service is a mandatory criterion in achieving all of this. Because if you recall, when you see people, when they're vying for offices, or positions, they would always give you in their manifestos or their campaign speeches, we want to serve you, we want to serve the people, I want to serve the people. But then, whether they end up serving the people or their selfish interest is a discussion for another day.
Thank you very much, Frater Joe. I think there's a temptation when you talk about the new era to limit it to just the post-pandemic period. It's a lot broader than that. And so I would like to look at it from three different lenses. Let's look at it from the lenses of industrial revolutions. Between the 18th and 19th century, we had the first industrial revolution that brought about mechanizations and improvements in agriculture. So we began to have things like mechanized farming. 100 years later, we had the second industrial revolution that brought about advances in energy, oil, power, gas. The third industrial revolution brought about advances in computers, and then we had electronics and high-powered gadgets and smartphones and iPhones and the likes. The fourth industrial revolution, which I like to see or describe as the new era, describes the sum total of advances made in artificial intelligence, robotics, genetics, IoT, Internet of Things, and so on and so forth. And before we say, oh, what is he speaking about? He's being too tech. I'm sure it's 5% or 50% of us here have facial recognition softwares on our phone. Most of us use Google Map or Bolt to go home yesterday. Genetic engineering, you have artificial insemination and all whatnot. So the new era describes the advances made in these new technologies. It describes the blurring of the line between biological, physical, and digital world. So if you look at it again from the digital perspective and say the new era from the digital perspective, we're in a digital world, we're in a digital era where an individual is no longer responsible for just their physical being, but their digital space as well. And that means that I can be held liable by the things that I put on Facebook or on Twitter. It could be held as my perspective or my perception on issues. You can also look at it from the eyes of the new norm post-pandemic after the world was hit with the COVID-19 virus last year. So all of this described the new era. you would ask yourself, what are the characteristics of this new era? You have a lot of adoptions and adaptations. You have a lot of innovations. You have a lot of creativity. We have virtual realities and virtual worlds. So the word, the new era, is quite broad. And I don't think we should limit it to just the post-pandemic.
Thank you very much. You painted a picture of the context in which the order now operates. And it is very interesting. Our order is an ancient, to use the word of ancient and modern order of the Rose of Cross. And you just painted a picture of the context in which the order operates today. I would like to discuss the founder of Facebook released the founder's letter for year 2024. And that letter includes a concept that should state that management for the transformation of social media as we know it. Now, this is important because the order in most of our organizations maintains a very active and vibrant presence on Facebook. And Facebook, whatever happens on Facebook, has implications for the publicity of the order globally. Now, that's what I said that Facebook and social media will transport into what we call the metaverse. In fact, we hope to see that as a huge metaverse. So, in the context of the social work, in the context of the social science, it would be a good vision of
Okay, thank you. Yes, quite topical. On a lighter note, Meta means 3 in Yoruba. So a lot of people in Lagos were wondering whether Mark Zuckerberg was starting 3 different companies when he announced Metaverse. But, you know, using the Greek meaning of the word meta, meaning greater or bigger, so you have meta universe. If he's talking now about a metaverse and talking about the way social media is now going to be, where you have multiple ways of accessing your presence on social media, integrating it basically into the real world, pretty much. I think for us as Rosicrucians, our organization is naturally virtual, in that in everything that we learn and everything we do, we understand that we do not have to be physically in a place to affect that place or the events in that place. So for us, I think we will be virtual natives. We should be the natives of that metaverse, because it simply just brings out new tools, or will I say more mundane tools of achieving our goals or what we do normally. For instance, exactly. Yes. Catching up. Have always known, yes. In that metaverse.
What was the
Thank you, Ejo. You know, our work of service as Rosicrucian students is the studying, the teaching, the testing, and application of natural and spiritual laws to achieve or attain health, harmony, and peace. So in this new era, we have embraced more modern means. The new era has offered the order the opportunity to propagate its valuable teachings to a much wider audience through digital and virtual means. Examples include online monographs, online webinars and meetings, I mean, you will recall from the lockdown period, if we're not having these online sessions, the GSE forum, the virtual Accra we had, and even Grandmaster Julie Scott's Zoom sessions that everyone is also joining at every point in time. You know, if we were not having those events, I think it would have really affected our membership strength. Then we have our social media platforms. We have our WhatsApp platforms for quick dissemination of information. We also have our YouTube channels and our Rosicrucian channels on the YouTube. We have AMORC Nigeria, we have Rosicrucian TV. So we have various video resources there for members to access at any point in time. If, for instance, you were unable to join a particular live session, you could just go there and you replay the videos. Then, for the first time, the last GSE forum, we live streamed on Instagram. Yes, we've been on Instagram, like AMORC Nigeria has been on Instagram, but we had the first live stream of the GSE forum on Instagram. And worthy of note is, on that live stream, we had young persons on it. Some other persons were on Zoom, some other persons were on YouTube, but on the Instagram live stream, we have so it shows us on Facebook. For you, you can talk about Clubhouse. Clubhouse is audio and Twitter is people have various access to various people and leaders. What? So yes, we were talking about as service changed. The fundamentals, the essence, the ultimate, but the model has changed. The methods, the approach has changed.
Thank you very much. This is very possible. You see this because you have to mix factor. It works that the constitutional process was transmitted by over an oral tradition. At least that's what our documents tell us. Oral tradition. The gnosis, the essence, remained constant, but the mode was oral. And then in elemental century, it was not written oracles. Yes. In our individual, who knows what the mood is? This is very Scotty for our process. We need to prepare our voice to maintain the essence of the tradition, but also prepare to adapt to the new methods of the agreement. That's what we talk of us. What steps we need to take now, especially
We have to demonstrate that we care of being entrusted with prosecution is nature of our organization and nature of reform. I wanted to share on this. How to thank you very much, Joe. Talking about how we I'll say that the order is just a lot. And so for me, what I would like to see was talking down on it. Invest
Dear Fratres and Soros, we are currently experiencing some technical glitch from the source at the International Convention Center. Apparently, their audio devices are having issues. The technical team on ground are doing all within their power to ensure that they restore audio for this particular session. But for the time being, if we are unable to restore the audio before the end of this particular session, we will do well to circulate the video recorded session of this particular session to all attendees to enable us have a full glimpse of what was being said in this session. Please do bear with us. Thank you.
In other words, stay in attunement, practice the reciprocal principles, align sense, and you will naturally go with the flow. That is a very important. Simply go with. Thank you very much. I would like to invite us to sing a song, the reciprocal song, and I'll just want to say a few remarks and close this session. The reciprocal song. Reciprocal, see the signal, waiting in the sky. Light and life and all are here, illumination. Oh, for I am the illumination. kudos to our students here who are there. Good time from the web now. Very soon. Thank you very much.
You know, for those who attend business schools in Lagos, London, wherever, you pay 1 million, you pay 500,000 to what these are young persons have just delivered to us. I think it's a very big and without wasting much time, we move to the next item on the agenda, which is Mystical Congress on Rosicrucian Service to Light, Life, and Love. And this will be handled by Grand Councillor Anthony Okori Foweri, Grand Councillor G.C. Godwin Agbo of Enugu, and Grand Councillor Gunawa of Lagos. With moderator, Grand Councillor Professor Christopher. I think we have the stage already set. Please, can you come up and let's have the next session.
Most worthy director, most worthy grandmaster, and our most worthy grand administrator, permit me to stand on existing protocols and to welcome you to our Mystical Congress on Rosicrucian Service to Light, Life, and Love. It is my pleasure to introduce and bring to the podium facilitators for this Congress. Frater Okori, please. Frater G.C. Agbo, kindly come forward. And Frater Ogunowo, Grand Councillor, kindly come forward. Please have your seat there. Beginning from the frater on my right-hand side. Grand Councillor for Niger zone, joined the other very young person. And active and being of use to the other to when he was child. But our story has several positions in the order, including serving as master, and was regional monitor for 7 years from the year 2013. And since 2013, he calls himself a small businessman. So, welcome him to the podium. Next is Franklin Abu, Grand Chancellor for Enugu, Anambra, and Ebonyi State. He also joined the order as a very young man, and he has also held several offices. The order, Deputy Master, Master, Regional Monitor, and we want to also inform this Congress that he has been of great service to this nation as a whole. We want to check this local government area. He was also chairman of the Primary Education Board. He was also a member of the Federal House of Representatives from and we call him ambassador. It's not just an acronym, because he was the ambassador of the Federal to the Empire of Japan from 2007 to 2009. Then, our Santa Ogunowo has also held several positions, beginning from high school as master, regional and Grand Chancellor. He has been an active national affairs, retiring from the managerial position from one of the biggest oil and gas companies in Nigeria. He retired in the year 2011 to form. He's a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Professionals of Nigeria and also fellow of the Institute of Taxation. And we want to start right away by inviting on service tonight.